a morning like no other. We have our friends joining us from ActionAid International Uganda. Xavier Ejoyi, he's a country director and he's joining us this morning. Good morning, Xavier.
Good morning.
Just before the break, we were talking about how to pronounce his name. There's a French pronunciation.
Yes, the French say Xavier.
Wow. Sounds beautiful. Sounds really, really nice. But otherwise, how are you doing this morning?
I am well, thank you.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me here.
Xavier is here to talk about something very important, which is the National Citizens Integrity Awards. Okay? So before we even get into the awards itself, Xavier, we're going to start with ActionAid International Uganda, which for you, you're the country director. What is ActionAid International Uganda?
Thank you so much. ActionAid International Uganda is a national development organization that is affiliated to ActionAid International. And we are a member of that federation. But in Uganda, we have specific focus and programs that focus, one, on issues of climate justice, that's basically building people's resilience and their response to climate change issues. Two, we focus on issues of people-led accountability and anti-corruption initiatives. And thirdly, we focus on issues of young people and women's access to productive resources. So that the three summarize broadly what we do as a program in Uganda. We work with partners in civil society, work with partners in community activists and different individuals and groups that share the vision and mission that we are established to accomplish.
Okay, interesting. Now, do tell us a little bit now about the National Citizens Integrity Awards. What is it all about?
The National Citizens Integrity Award is, as the name suggests, is a citizens' initiative. So ActionAid, with its work, a lot of our work on governance and accountability also focuses on corruption or anti-corruption initiatives. And so you may well have heard about our initiatives around anti-corruption. We call out the corrupt in society and we demand that the state puts to end corruption that is really moving away resources from the public for private gain. And that affects public services like health, like education, like infrastructure, and so on. And we believe that as in our mission to end poverty and to realize gender equality, corruption stands on the way. Corruption stands in the way of citizens accessing decent services, and corruption stands in the way of promoting equality in our society. And so corruption is a key focus for us as an important pathway to ending poverty in this country. And so alongside the name and shame work that we do on corruption, we also believe that there are public servants in this country who really dedicate their time. They serve this nation with integrity. And many times we downplay, we ignore, or we even do not give prominence to their work of promoting integrity. And we focus disproportionately on profiling the cases of corruption and so on, which we will continue to do. Make no mistake. Anyone involved in corruption, we will name and shame them and demand that they are held accountable. However, we also believe that those who are serving in public service diligently and they are serving with integrity, they deserve recognition.
Okay.
And so we, together with various civil society organizations across the country and nationally, as well as individual citizens, we have come together, and this started 8 years ago, to recognize those particular individuals who are serving in public service. And so we put together a mechanism for citizens themselves to nominate who their man or woman of integrity is across the country. So the 14 sub-regions that we have, from Karamoja to Chigezi, there are processes that are ongoing, working together with local media, usually radio stations, and the civil society organization there, and different anti-corruption activists. People are given forms in which they can nominate a name of somebody what their role in public service is, and then what specific acts of integrity they have performed in their tenure, and they must be within the last 5 years, and not just a one-off thing, but they have consistently upheld that value, and there are examples of how they have upheld that value. And so they are nominated publicly, and the public also has an opportunity to debate and say, Xavier, and no, maybe, and let's remove him and things. So one of the things that we're trying to do with this process is to remove that exclusive right to determine who is a man or woman of integrity or is corrupt from officialdom to the hands of citizens. Because citizens are ultimately the beneficiary of integrity, or they are the most affected when there is corruption. And we don't want to exclude them from that process. We hear their voices, but there is a process in place that is objective, simple enough for everyone to participate, to nominate, and they are vetted. And these names are aggregated from the regions up to the national level, where there is a vetting committee that then goes through the list and the purpose of the nominations against the established criteria, and they're able to follow up with questions from this person's associates or who they're working for, and then they're able to generate the list of winners. And that is what the National Citizens Integrity Award is about.
Okay. I see you've mentioned clearly that we're targeting people within the public service space.
Yes.
And people from different regions across the country will have an opportunity to nominate somebody who has been exemplary in the fight against corruption, at least for the last 5 years.
There needs to be a consistent...
It has to be consistent efforts and upholding of specific values, at least for the last 5 years. That's great to know. We are going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll talk about how do you select the winners? Because I can see that right now everyone is like, hey, I have this person in my mind. I think they would be the most ideal to nominate. But then Xavier, how do we select the winners? That is coming up next after this.
933 KFM, the best music.
It's Anna Marie, Clean Bandit, and David Guetta with Cry Baby playing for you on 933 KFM. Better information and the best music. 27 minutes until 10 o'clock. Good morning. You're listening to the Mighty Breakfast. In studio this morning, we have Xavier Ejoyi, who's the country director for ActionAid International Uganda. He's here to talk about the National Citizens Integrity Awards. Now, just before the break, we're talking about why, why the National Citizens Integrity Awards started, but also the different select number of people that are going to be targeted, okay? And we mentioned that, when we return, we're going to also talk about what criteria will they be using to select the winners. So, Xavier, what criteria are you going to follow to say that this person in public service for the last 5 years, they have been doing their work? Because you mentioned that, yes, people will nominate, and will also, in that nomination, include their work.
Yep.
I mean, can someone nominate themselves?
No. So maybe we can...
Because, someone can say, I've been doing some good work, so I know. Let me even nominate myself and even include my CV of work. Okay.
No, so we can start with that. I think there is also ineligibility. So once we announced, and this went out over a month ago, there's a simple criteria that is set for people to nominate. But there is an eligibility even before you nominate. One, somebody must have influence on a broader society. They must be exemplary and inspirational.
Okay.
And they must have that they are engaged in public life, meaning the acts that you are nominated for must transcend your personal interests.
Oh.
And not something to do with your family and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And I also want to put here that there is ineligibility. The staff and board of directors of the participating organizations, they are not eligible for nomination. because then it will be conflict of interest. But also self-nominating individuals are not allowed, and then members of the awards vetting committee, as well as individuals who have roles that have specific political or religious, or promote specific political or religious interests, meaning we can't nominate you because you're a Muslim or because you're a Christian per se. The work must go beyond your personal belief and must be something that you serve in public life. Now, with that, the selection criteria is that there must be a specific act of integrity. Did you participate in, for example, recovering stolen money? Or have you distinguished yourself and withstood any approaches for bribery and so on, and that is documented, and it can be seen that you stood your ground on certain issues relating to your professional work in the public service? So that's a specific act of integrity. One. The second one is that they must be consistent and sustainable. Did you just do this on a one-off basis? Was it a chance? Or is this something that you are known for and your peers can attest to this? And so that is also well documented. If it is not down, we can actually be able to verify that with follow-up questions to your peers and people that you're working with. And finally, as I said earlier on, you must have influence on society. This is not an individual or family affair. This has to do with the public, and we're looking at people who have access to public resources, taxpayers' money, and they are making decisions on a day-to-day basis relating to that. And so integrity comes in place in many ways, but specifically we want to look at that dimension of it in public service.
Okay, that's good to know, because I know a couple of people probably were wondering that, okay, I've also been outspoken against corruption, maybe participated in one or two things here, but it's good to know when you mentioned that they have access to even public resources. That's helpful. Now, what category, just to make it even clearer, what category of citizens are being recognized?
So we the category of citizens that we are recognizing are, number one, what we call frontline public servants. So you're looking at people who are working in the health sector, in the education sector, maybe they're working in administrative units, in local governments, generally in public service, but they have day-to-day encounter with citizens, maybe police, maybe prisons, or whatever it is that has access to the public. They are on the front line on a day-to-day service delivery. That's an award that we give. That's one category. The second category is actually management award. So you are in public service, but you're in management responsibility. Maybe you are a permanent secretary, maybe you're a director, maybe you are a chief administrative officer, but you have management responsibility. You're overseeing people, you're overseeing resources relating to public affairs. So that's different from frontline. So we also give an award for that category. The third category is the political award. So it's about politically, how have you conducted your affairs in relation to your place as a politician, a member of parliament, a local government chairperson, at any level, a minister, or whatever political responsibility that you've held, but you've done so with integrity. So those are the three categories. But then out of those, we then get an overall winner, female, and an overall winner, male. And across, we've been very deliberate about ensuring that there is participation of both men and women in this process, and the categories break that down in both the three categories, but also the overall winner, and then comes up. And so that is how it's filtered across. So every region is able to get their own nominees, 4 of them, and then the 8 of them, they come all the way to the national level.
Okay.
And at the national level, then the sieving happens, the final sieving through the vetting committee, who looks at the citation. One thing I want to make clear is that usually the citation betrays many nominees. Yes, I've nominated Xavier, but what have I nominated him for? Has it fit the criteria? Is the information sufficient for the vetting committee to gauge? The vetting committee will make an effort to follow back and say, yes, the name has come here, he works in this unit, but we don't have information. They make phone calls, the right to inquire about this particular nominee. But it's important that the nominating people give sufficient information to be able to gauge the integrity of this person in a documented way, not just randomly, but through an objective process of assessing that.
Okay.
And so once that decision is made, then rate it, and then the names are sealed, and they are announced at the National Citizens Integrity Award dinner night that is actually happening tomorrow.
Oh, okay. As we also come closer to the awards happening, I wanted to talk about the impact, okay? Because one, what do you hope to achieve with this? But two, the impact it has had for the last few years.
Sure, that's a really good question. The impact of this, first of all, the awards have been growing in influence over time. Number one, we started by getting, a couple of under 50 awards. Last year really shocked us. We got 743 nominees across the country. This year we have 4,118 nominees countrywide.
The team that is vetting has their work cut out.
The team that is vetting has their work cut out, but they are also helped by other smaller committees at the regional level. We're partnered with different organizations, about 18 organizations in total, and media houses. So there is also the first screening that goes on in the regions. At the national level, the vetting committee receives 8 names from the regions that they can then dig deeper into. So 14 sub-regions, 8 names each is still a lot to look into, but a lot of that happens at the regional level. So that growth in the number of people being nominated for us is an indicator that this is an issue that citizens have interest in. They feel they now have authority to nominate, to decide, to recognize who in public service is a man or woman of integrity. And I think that is really important. Otherwise, people are now complacent and say that this is Uganda, corruption is here with us, and everything here, we've lost it, and things like that. So we want to change that narrative. We want also people who are nominated to feel that I've been recognized for the work that I've done. I think I can do better. And we've seen that happen. Some of the nominees that have come through and they have won this award, whether they're just won from the regional level or at the national level, have gone on to excel in their performance, have become exemplary. They have earned themselves promotions, and they set themselves apart in public service. So that is an impact that we want to treasure. The final thing that we want to really change, and we see it changing, is that the narrative that fighting corruption is for certain officials, even for NGOs like ourselves and so on. We're saying no. Every citizen who walks on the street, you really have a constitutional duty. Article 17 of our constitution says, among others, that citizens have the right to fight corruption. Actually, duty, not right. The duty to fight corruption. And we're really bringing that back to the citizens and say, can you exercise that duty and choose who is a man or woman of integrity? And so that for us is, citizens are picking up to nominate 4,118 people. It means we had more people participating in that process, and a lot more even participating in the debate of, okay, so-and-so has been nominated, but we can actually take them out of this process. And that is something that I also want to speak to. So once the citizens have nominated the man or woman of integrity, perhaps it has been based on the information available to them. Along the way, certain information will start to unfold, because now, by accepting to be nominated, they have actually consented to public scrutiny. And people start to bring out information and say, wait a moment, I actually have an incident in which so-and-so was involved in fraudulent activities or corruption and so on. And it is here, it's objective, it is documented, and so on. In one such incident, we had even awarded this person. And the citizens went, it's a district somewhere in central Uganda. Wow. They went and they said, no way, information has now come to, we nominated them, but we've now received certain information that this person, our leader, was involved in acts that really do not merit this award. And they said, this award was given by us, please give it back. And they went and collected the plug that you had given this person, and they brought it back to ActionAid and said, can you keep this? Because the person we thought had integrity, we actually realized that,
I like that.
we made that decision based on information that was not fully in our hands, and some information has come since later, and we've changed our mind. And so that is the also one side of this, that it is in the hands of citizens who definitely know. Even when they don't know, if information comes to them, they can rescind that award.
Speaking of citizens, what do you have to say to the Ugandan that is sort of on the sideline when it comes to the fight against corruption, to the ones that don't take on an active role? What do you have to say for them?
That is, I want to say, encourage, first of all, those citizens, Ugandan citizens out there, who feel that this is a lost cause. We just want one more number to those who are adding their voices, and that is your voice. If you add your voice to the tens, hundreds, thousands, and I want to add millions of citizens who are on a day-to-day basis standing out to fight corruption, you are increasing that voice and making it louder and making it impactful. So let's not be complacent. Let's not be apathetic and say, there's a common saying on the streets of this nation that this is Uganda. When somebody says this is Uganda, they mean that we are so used to our corruption. We're used to paying kickbacks and bribing and so on. Just let us be. No.
So this is a norm now.
This is a norm. We want to change that norm, and norms can be changed. And so this is what I want to tell citizens, that by adding your voice, it doesn't matter what pressures you are under and what the other force is. Even if you are a lone fighter, that voice is important. And we're counting on each one of you individually and collectively to make that noise.
I think one of the most key things you mentioned is that collectively we are making a difference. So if you've been wondering that, Zengaze, I'm one person, what will I do? When we come together, there's definitely change. We can make a difference. Now, Xavier, before I let you go, any last thing you would like to let us know, and especially about the awards that will be happening?
Sure. That's we are going to have the awards tomorrow. There's awards dinner which is the final, where the final winners in the 3 categories and the overall winners will be announced. We have people coming from all corners of this country to Kampala representing the nation. If you are not able to make it to the venue, which is by invitation, there is actually media access. There's a way. Okay. We are partnering with NTV, which is bringing live the awards dinner. And then on our social media handles on ActionAid, we will be echoing this live, and other partner organizations that we'll be working with. So you can be part of this. It's an exciting moment for us to be in this place to recognize men and women who are serving public service with integrity. And I hope that you will continue to participate and your voice counts. Perhaps you will be nominated next time.
Absolutely. You never know. So if you haven't thought of actively starting, you might want to do that today. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We look forward to the awards, and we hope we wait to see the results of especially those exemplary Ugandans that are doing what they can in the fight against corruption, making sure that public service is accountable to Ugandans as well. Now, that was Xavier Ejoyi. He's the country director for ActionAid International Uganda. Look out for the awards. Is there an online platform where we can look up as well in case we want more information?
Sure. As I said, the ActionAid Uganda X handle, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all will be live, bringing to you the awards night.
And like he said, also NTV Uganda will be broadcasting live. So make sure you're keeping your eyes to just watch those exemplary Ugandans. Find out what they are doing. They might be the inspiration you are looking for. You're listening to 933 KFM.